Hey, ELA classes, what's going on? It's Mr. Hayes checking in on Thursday, May 14th. Hope everyone's had a good week so far. We are going to continue today with planning out our movie review. It's a really important step in the writing process before we actually begin typing this movie review up in paragraph form. It's super important that we plan it out beforehand to make sure it's detailed and thorough. So before we even jump into the module, I have a message for everyone. Please finish watching your movie. Even if it's a movie you've seen 10, 15 times and you adore and you love and you think you know inside and out, please rewatch it. Finish that note taking sheet from Tuesday before you even start to plan things out. You need the movie to be done before you begin planning it. So if you have not finished it yet, if you haven't finished rewatching it yet, do that first, okay? If you're done with that, though, you can jump into the module so I can show you how we're going to plan this movie review out. First announcements. Here's the daily checklist. After you finish watching this video, which I'll try to keep around 10 minutes, you're going to complete the movie review planner, which you will see in a moment. And that is due by the end of the day tomorrow, Friday. I'm going to give you 2 days for this. So if you don't quite have all your ideas down today, you have another day to go back and add to it. Live optional sessions and week at a glance, as you all know. Today's teaching point, critics develop a logical argument by following the classical argument structure. This is an argument essay. That's what a movie review is. You're arguing whether a film is of quality or stinks or somewhere in between. And the classical structure sounds fancy, but it's very basic. And I will walk you through the parts of that structure with our planner in a moment. I will post this mini lesson video here as soon as it's completed. And now the application activity. You're going to work on your movie review planner today by clicking on your class link. You're used to this. If I'm in Core 1, click on that and it'll open to a blank movie review document that looks like this. It's got all the parts of the classical structure in it. Make it a little bit bigger here. Everything from the hook to the main point of your review, to a brief summary of the movie, to all your reasons and examples, your counterclaim, and your conclusion. Those are all the parts of a really quality movie review. You can see I have a message here under hook. We will have a lesson on this on Monday, so you can skip this if you'd like. Hooks can be challenging. It's something that takes some creativity, so it doesn't always pop into your brain right away. Don't dwell on this for a half an hour, an hour. You can skip this if something that sounds ingenious isn't popping into your head immediately. You can skip this until Monday. The rest I'd like you to do between now and Friday, including summarizing your review in one sentence. If someone comes up to you on the street and says, Mr. Hayes, what's your review about? I have 15 seconds. What would you say? Okay. And I'll show you my example for that in a moment. Brief summary of the film. Every good review summarizes some of the main characters, the setting, and the biggest conflict. Don't give away anything, no big spoilers, but oftentimes in a review, if someone's interested in seeing the movie or not, they'll want to know a little bit about what it entails, what's the main storyline, what's the plot, who are some big people involved, and so this is where you do that. And then the all important reasons and examples. This is where you put, if I love the movie, I'm going to come up with 3 or 4 reasons why I loved it and examples that relate to that reason. If I hated the movie, I'm going to come up with 3 to 4 reasons why I hated it and examples that go with that. And then finally, your counterclaim, which is essentially where you are going to acknowledge the other side of the argument. If you love the movie, this is one thing that you hated about it or didn't like about it. If you hated the movie, this is one thing that, I tip my cap. This was okay. I did kind of like this part of it. I like what the director did here. So it's just about acknowledging the other side of an argument. And then how will you tie it all together in the conclusion? So by the end of the day, Friday, this planner will be just about all filled out. You don't have to do every single example. If you can only come up with one example for a reason, you can stop at 1. Try to get to 2, though. Fill out as much of this as you can by the end of the day tomorrow. To help you, I have done one. I did mine on Dead Poet Society, and I mostly used clips that we saw in class to help you understand exactly what I was talking about. So I skipped the hook. I'm going to wait for the lesson on that. My overall claim, my main point, right? Summarize the review in one sentence. I said that Dead Poet Society captures the spirit of growing up and finding your voice in an era where backing down to authority was not only encouraged, but expected. That's what captivated me the most about this film, is the rebellious side of the main characters in the face of a milieu, of a setting, of a time period where authority was the be all end all. You were expected to listen to your parents, to your principals, to your disciplinary teachers, and not ever question them. And these boys, with the help of Mr. Keating, did exactly that. And that is what is so awesome about this movie. So, to summarize why I loved it so much in one sentence, that's what I came up with. So, you're going to do the same thing for yours, whether you loved it or you hated it. Summarize the main point of your review in one sentence. I've got my summary here, just describing a little bit about the plot. And now, the most important part of my 3 or 4 reasons why I loved it. I settled on Neil's character, especially the actor who played him. Neil was the one who has a really strict father. And in fact, one of the scenes I brought up here as an example is a scene where Neil cannot tell his father how he feels. Remember, his father catches him as part of that play, brings him home, berates him, gives Neil a chance to express his opinion. What do you want, Neil? And Neil just can't bring himself to say it. Every facial expression is pained. It is, and it's also so believable that he would be at a loss of words. It would be cliche if he stood up and said, "Dad, you won't let me do anything." And it was a big shouting match. No, that he was at such a loss on what to say because he's so used to listening to his father, and backing down to authority I thought was genuine and real. I just love that scene so much. That's one of my examples. I also love the classroom scenes. So I gave my 2 examples of my 2 favorite classroom scenes. The barbaric yawp with Todd. Remember that one? Todd was the shy one. And then when Mr. Keating really brings the students together in the center of the room and says those moving quotes, I'm definitely going to bring up those 2 in my review. And lastly, the setting. I love the setting of Welton Academy. I love what the director did with the Gothic castle-like campus, boxing the students in, and not just literally, but figuratively. Their emotions are trapped and boxed into. They can't express themselves. And I love the milieu of the 1950s. There's a scene where one of the characters goes to a party. Everyone's wearing leather jackets. Uh, Buddy Holly is a famous artist from the 50s. He's playing on a jukebox. It was just so real. So those are the 3 things I'll bring up as far as reasons why I loved it. I'm going to come up with a 4th. I just haven't yet. And then my counterclaim. So I loved Dead Poet Society. You all know that. But what did I maybe have a little nitpick with? Well, it was tough to think of one, but I did really question the scenes where the character named Knox Overstreet is pursuing a crush that he has. And I just didn't feel like it was necessary in the movie. And all it did was distract us from the real story of the students and Mr. Keating. So I gave 2 examples of why I didn't like it. Number one, Knox was not developed as a character enough where I should care about him. And then 2, he gets into a fight at the party with the big football player who's dating the girl. It's just cliche. It's overused. Of course, it's the burly, muscly football player that's fighting with the sensitive kid who has a crush on the girl, and they get into a fist fight and they're rolling around on the ground, punching each other. It just was tired and played and overused, and I could have done without it in the movie entirely. So that is my major nitpick, my counterclaim of what I didn't like in the movie. You establish more credibility if you acknowledge the other side. And then finish it up with a conclusion. What do you want your reader to really leave with? What do you want them to understand about the movie? Most importantly, this is where you kind of put a bow on top of your review. All right, this is where the essence of what the message you're trying to send is restated or stated in a different way than you did in your hook or your main point. And here I talked about how Mr. Keating's profound messages really stay with you long after the credits roll. So please use this as an example. This is like if we were in class, I'd be modeling with this in real time. Of course, can't do that right now, but I think this will help you plan yours out if you have my Dead Poets exemplar side by side with yours as you map your planner out on your own. This is another resource I've given you. This is my movie review from last year. This is the final product of 2 weeks of writing with my students. I did it on Romeo and Juliet because we watched it as a class last year. So you may not understand all the content of this, but you will see the structure come together. I know for me as a writer, it was always super helpful if I saw kind of the end of the road as I was planning and writing something, if I saw what the finished product, the end game was going to look like. I know it always helped me envision what I wanted to do. So I want to provide that for you right here. You can see I color coded all the parts of the planner and how it came together in paragraph form. So I would suggest reading this through as well. Just take about 2 to 3 minutes to do so you can see how the parts of the planner really come together. And then lastly, if you're struggling to come up with some reasons for why you liked or hated the movie, I think this deep acronym that we worked on Monday might help you. This might kind of stoke your memory of some things that you might be able to say. For example, dialogue. Oh, let me think back to Dead Poets. What scene did I really like the script? I'm going to go back and rewatch that scene and write down a couple of lines I really love from it. Okay? So I've got everything I just described right here, the blank planner by your class page, my Dead Poets planner that I just talked through, the Romeo and Juliet exemplar, and the deep acronym, all linked right here on the module. Exit ticket is just working on the planner. I just want to see that you've made progress on that by Friday. That is all the work that I have for you today. Hope everyone has a great Thursday. I'm around for questions. If you're struggling with anything that I just walked through, I know it felt a little bit rushed, but I wanted to keep these videos concise and give you some, a good chance to work today without going too far over the hour limit I'm supposed to give you for ELA work per day. So if you're having a tough time, you're stumbling at any point, I'm here, email or Google Hangout, jump in, ask me a question, and we'll fix it together. Okay? Hope everyone has a good day. We'll see.